In 1883, a sound was so powerful that people heard it clearly nearly 4,800 kilometers away, roughly the distance from New York to London. Sailors on ships almost 65 kilometers from the source had their eardrums physically ruptured. The sound circled the entire planet 4 times before it finally faded out. That's not an exaggeration for a thumbnail. It's a matter of historical record. Now go to the complete opposite extreme. There is a room in the United States engineered to be so silent that it currently holds the world record for the quietest place ever measured, and no human being has ever lasted inside it longer than 45 minutes. Not because of any physical danger, because total silence does something to the human mind that most people are not prepared for. 2 sound extremes. One nearly destroyed hearing across an ocean. The other quietly breaks your grip on reality. And by the end of this video, we're heading to a 3rd place, one that might be the most perfectly healthiest quiet spot most people will never get to.
On August 27, 1883, the volcanic island of Krakatoa, located between Java and Sumatra in modern-day Indonesia, erupted with a force so extreme that it remains, to this day, widely regarded as the loudest sound in recorded human history. The explosion registered at approximately 172 decibels, measured 165 kilometers away. To put that number in perspective, 120 decibels is roughly the threshold where sound becomes physically painful to human ears. A jet engine at close range hits around 140 decibels. Krakatoa was recorded at 172 decibels from over 100 kilometers away, not up close. Estimates of the sound pressure at the source itself go well beyond anything a human ear could survive. Ships sailing in the Sunda Strait, nearly 65 kilometers from the eruption, reported crew members suffering ruptured eardrums simply from the pressure wave passing through the air. Barometers in stations as far away as London and Washington, D.C. detected the atmospheric pressure wave from the explosion. Not the sound reaching human ears, but the actual physical shock wave in the air, registering on scientific instruments roughly 18,000 kilometers from the source.
And here's the detail that tends to genuinely surprise people. The sound of the eruption was clearly heard by people on Rodriguez Island in the Indian Ocean, nearly 4,800 kilometers away. Witnesses there reported what sounded like distant cannon fire or naval battle. They had no idea a volcano had erupted almost 5,000 kilometers from where they stood. They just heard something loud and unmistakable coming from a direction where, as far as they knew, there was nothing but open ocean. The sound wave was powerful enough that atmospheric scientists later confirmed it circled the entire globe multiple times. Most sources cite roughly 4 full trips around the planet before its pressure signature finally became too faint for instruments to detect. The human cost was severe. Over 36,000 people died, most from the tsunamis triggered by the eruption rather than the explosion itself. But the sound, independent of everything else the eruption caused, remains one of the most extraordinary physical events ever measured on this planet. A noise loud enough to leave a physical, instrument-recorded fingerprint on the entire Earth's atmosphere.
Alright, take that image of a sound powerful enough to rupture eardrums 65 kilometers away and circle the entire planet. And now go to the complete opposite extreme. Instead of a sound too big for the planet to fully absorb, imagine a room engineered to erase sound almost entirely. Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond, Washington, contains a room that currently holds the Guinness World Record for the quietest place on Earth, measured at negative 20.35 decibels. Yes, negative! The room absorbs sound so effectively that it registers below the theoretical threshold of human hearing itself. The engineering behind this is almost absurd in its thoroughness. The room sits on springs, isolated from the rest of the building, so vibrations from footsteps or machinery elsewhere can't transmit into it. The walls, ceiling, and floor are lined with fiberglass acoustic wedges, specifically angled to trap and absorb sound waves rather than reflect them, similar in concept to the anechoic chambers used to test jet engines and spacecraft components. The result is a space that absorbs approximately 99.99% of all reflected sound.
Here's where it becomes genuinely unsettling. No person has ever been able to stay inside comfortably for more than about 45 minutes.
It's not physically dangerous, nobody has been harmed by sitting in it, but in the complete absence of ambient sound cues, the human brain doesn't simply relax. It starts actively searching for something to listen to, and when it can't find anything external, it turns inward. Visitors have reported hearing their own heartbeat, the rushing of blood through their ears, even the faint sound of their own joints moving. Several visitors have reported losing their sense of balance entirely and needing to sit down, because the inner ear partially relies on subtle ambient sound cues to help maintain spatial orientation. Remove all of it, and your own body's sense of up and down can briefly falter. The room was actually built by Microsoft for a specific practical reason. Acoustic engineers use it to test recording equipment and product sound design in a completely uncontaminated audio environment, where zero outside noise can interfere with a measurement. But its unofficial legacy has become something almost philosophical. A space that proves silence, in high enough doses, isn't peaceful. It's disorienting. The human brain, it turns out, was never actually designed to process the total absence of sound.
So now, we've had a noise so massive, it left a fingerprint on the entire planet's atmosphere? And a silence so complete, it makes your own body start to feel unfamiliar to you. Let's go somewhere that sits calmly, healthily, in between the two. Deep inside the Hoh rainforest in Washington's Olympic National Park, there is a specific marked location known among acoustic ecologists as 1 square inch of silence. It was designated in 2005 by sound researcher Gordon Hempton as, at the time, one of the quietest naturally occurring places in the entire continental United States. A location that could go for extended stretches, sometimes over 24 hours, without a single human-caused sound interrupting the natural soundscape. This is not silence in the Microsoft Lab sense. There's no negative decibel void here. You'll still hear wind moving through old-growth moss-covered trees, birdsong, the distant sound of a stream. What's actually being measured and protected isn't the absence of all sound. It's the near-total absence of human-made sound. No aircraft overhead, no distant traffic, no machinery hum. Researchers have found that this specific spot, due to its geography deep within the valley, is naturally shielded from the low-frequency noise pollution that reaches almost everywhere else in the country, even other remote wilderness areas. Here's what makes this genuinely different from both Krakatoa and Microsoft's anechoic chamber. This kind of quiet doesn't disorient people, it does the opposite.
Multiple studies on natural soundscapes have found that this kind of ambient, non-artificial quiet is linked to measurably lower cortisol levels and reduced heart rate in visitors, essentially the physiological opposite of what happens in a totally dead silent room. Your brain isn't searching for something to listen to and turning inward in discomfort. It's getting exactly the low-level, natural stimulation it evolved to expect and settling into it. And the quietly funny contrast, while ships 65 kilometers from Krakatoa were losing their hearing, and Microsoft employees were losing their balance after 45 minutes in engineered silence, the extreme experience at 1 square inch of silence is just a genuinely relaxing walk in the woods. No danger, no disorientation, just by pure geographic and acoustic accident, one of the most naturally peaceful spots most people will never think to look for.
3 places, same planet, one so loud it left a physical fingerprint on Earth's entire atmosphere. One so silent, engineered to a negative decibel count that it makes your own body feel foreign to you. And one that simply exists in nature's actual comfort zone, quiet enough to calm you, not quiet enough to unsettle you. What this pair really proves, maybe more than the last 2 episodes, is that extremes aren't just physically dangerous. They're psychologically disorienting in a way we don't always expect. Too much stimulation breaks your body. Too little breaks your sense of self. And somewhere in the middle, undramatically sits the place your brain was actually built for all along.
If you've made it this far into this episode, you clearly like the deep dive format. So let me know in the comments which extreme pair you want tackled next, and subscribe, because next episode is gonna get into something that doesn't just threaten your body, it threatens something a lot stranger.